C2 Wrestling. What is going on, everyone? Monday Night Raw, another one in the books. Not too much to get into tonight, if we're being honest. A pretty standard Monday Night Raw. We're going to jump around a little bit, get right into it. The big talk is really tonight's main event. CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso gets involved, The Vision, Seth, Bronson. It's madness between all guys involved. Monday Night Raw technically started out with CM Punk, interrupted by LA Knight. All hell kind of breaks loose throughout the show. I like the direction they're going. It ends up being built towards a fatal four-way clash in Paris, made official. Seth Rollins defends his World Heavyweight Championship against Jey Uso, CM Punk, and LA Knight. What do you think?
I'm interested because the last week has been all about how Roman is advertised for
Mm-hmm.
Paris and how Roman is advertised for a Raw, I believe next week in Philly,
I believe
or
so.
or he's advertised for the following week. He's advertised for one of them. So I'm interested. Does it become a five-way? Do we get Roman versus Bronson Reed?
I
You
would
know,
like it.
yeah. Do we get Roman in a different match? Do we get Roman taking out someone? I don't know. Does he play a bit of an equalizer? It's kind of like the monkey wrench. Like I'm going into this match not upset about it. I love this. This
Mm-hmm.
that's a stacked four-way. I almost wish Rollins was facing like just LA Knight first or something like that because the four-way is so big that I'm not complaining about it. I like it. It just feels like, damn, already? Like, what's the
Yeah.
plans? But when you start thinking about it, I guess you got Survivor Series right around the corner. You're gonna have War Games, and then you're gonna probably build towards that buffer period of the main focus is Cena's end of his career and his run, whatever. So I guess it makes sense, but yeah, I guess my main takeaway is how will Roman fit in if he does?
Yeah, that is really the main question regarding it all. I love the Fatal Four Way. It is going to be a great match. It's a great four men to have in the match. I too would have preferred it to just be maybe LA and Punk had a number one contender. LA gets the win. Punk is, kind of trying to get there still is the story. No shade on Jey Uso. He's a big name. They want him on the card, I'm sure. I don't really need Jey Uso in the match. Even a triple threat, I think, would have fit a little bit better at this point in time. But it's still going to be a banger of a match. I'm sure we get maybe some six-man tag action on one of the upcoming Monday Night Raws. I don't think they'll add Roman to the match. I think Roman very well gets Bronson Reed or something along those lines. Hell, maybe even a handicap match versus Bronson and Braun Breaker. I don't quite know. But this is all kind of the bridge right now to, as you mentioned, Survivor Series leading up to War Games. I'd be surprised if the War Games match doesn't include the Vision versus whoever to some degree. Cool, sure. War Games is getting a little bit recycled. I think we were texting about that between each other a little bit. I can see them doing some route of that. War Games, I don't know how necessary it is going to be after this year, but I'm looking forward to what's to come. Seth Rollins retains a Clash in Paris. I'd be surprised if anything other than that happened. So it just feels like a bridge, which, sure, great match. I'm bought in. I like what they're doing. I don't know though. I'm a little indifferent on it all. The big question again is just where do you put Roman? What does Roman do at Clash of Paris?
Here's a question I have for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Does it main event over a Cody versus Drew match? Would Cody Drew open the show maybe and this four-way main events?
Should I would say the biggest story post SummerSlam is A, Brock Lesnar, who's not involved, or B, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and then all the guys mixed in there, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and all that. So yeah, I would say this is warranted of the main event. Would I be surprised if Cody main events? Absolutely not. That's our QB1. Cody's in a similar spot that Seth is, though. I'd be surprised if Cody were to lose. So it seems like we're just getting kind of an exhibition at Clash in Paris, at least between the main champions. But I would say main events.
Yeah, for sure. We'll kind of bounce around a little bit. You mentioned War Games. Sami Zayn faced off against Rusev. Match ends in a DQ when Solo and his MFT interfere. We've got the seeds for that to be the War Games match as well. They very
Mm-hmm.
well could just do a combination.
Yeah.
of the two factions. Who knows if they want those full factions in the matches. I could see that being it, where they just combine the two. But it just goes back to the original point where I don't need war games, man. Like I
Mm.
just, especially when it's like branding the pay-per-view as it, like, just feels like we're shoehorning it. Not that these stories don't like make sense and it wouldn't be justifiable. It's just like, man, every year it's the same thing as Hell in a Cell. Like, at first it's good, and then you get it again, and you get it
Yeah.
again, and you get it again. It's like, all right, now we're kind of shoehorning this in. I think I'm okay with taking a year or two away from it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. War games as well. I mean, every year there's a new competitor or two in the match. Bronson Reed was in his first War Games last year. Braun Breaker might be this year, but it's kind of the same recycled guys that are just in the War Games match every year too. Maybe they could go a different route, and it is MFT versus so and so. Who knows? I'm still not totally bought into it. War Games I didn't think was even needed for this year. I do think this should be the last War Games for a little bit until it's kind of necessary to get it back in place. But it is still a big event. That should be a great match. There was some announcements about, potentially a Bad Blood looks to be on the docket too. So we'll have some PLEs, some bigger events in between now and Survivor Series. So who knows what's going to happen. Sami Zayn, though, getting involved with Solo Sikoa is a bit intriguing. The brand split is dead. It's forever dead, realistically, at this point. There's no,
I'm glad you said that because
yeah.
they had Adam Pierce calling Nick Aldis freaking out, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight is literally on your show right now.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
mean? What are you freaking out about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of just, it's a shame, in my opinion. The brand split I think is important. I would love a draft. There's no draft on the docket right now, it seems. I don't know. The brand split doesn't mean much to them anymore. I don't need a solo Sammy feud if that's like the overall route of this. That does nothing for me. It's whatever. It's whatever right now.
Yeah. You mentioned good matches though. We got a few good matches tonight.
Hmm.
One of them being a tag match of Dirty Dominic Mysterio and El Grande Americano against Dragon Lee and AJ Styles. Kind of building up two stories here with Styles and Dom for the Intercontinental Championship and the three Dom, El Grande, and Dragon Lee who will be in the AAA main event, which is next Saturday or this
I think it's this Saturday.
this Saturday. This
Uh,
Saturday.
Vikingo in the match as well.
Yes.
Fatal four way
He's the
for the
champion,
championship.
9
Yep.
p.m. on YouTube, I believe.
Yep.
Match was good. Loved the usage of the mask that Dom had been bringing out, adding a little purpose to that
Hmm.
mask being there. I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed, look, I get a good laugh at the multiple El Grandes. I don't know where they're going to go with that story.
Yeah.
Glad they didn't use that here because
Yeah.
if would have felt shoehorned, would have felt like they are forcing it at that point. We don't need it every single week, every single second.
Yeah. I expect to get some sort of involvement at the event this Saturday. So maybe they're saving it for that. You can't just not use them this week and then not use them the next week. And the next week, though, they'll be back around. It's prominent enough. People are questioning where they're going with all three El Grandes. Hell, I don't know the timetable on Chad Gable's return, but eventually there's going to be 4 or 5 of these guys running around. I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm looking forward to watching the event this Saturday. I think that's going to be great. Shit, I think they might put that title on Dirty Dom. I think the cross promotion of having Dirty Dom as IC champ, mega champion, bringing him over to both shows. I don't know, though, if Vikingo's their guy, but I'm looking forward to that. That was a great tag match on Raw tonight, though.
I've held that I think it's going to be El Grande. I think
I
I
would
think
love that.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
love it too. I don't know. I just feel like Dom. It's not too obvious, but
It's
feels
almost
kind
too
of
obvious.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 But we actually had some interesting stuff with the women tonight. One being Io Sky taking on Roxanne Perez and losing.
Hmm.
And that comes after a bit of interference and distraction. The Kabuki Warriors are ringside, even though Io Sky told them not to be. I don't want to be like, oh, people, why'd you complain? Because their complaints were justified a little bit earlier. But it seems we are now back on track to that Io Asuka match. Now, does the Naomi injury, whatever it is, we don't know, is that fast tracking it? Maybe. I guess we'll see how it plays out. But it is kind of the storyline that we've wanted for even when Io was the champion. I'm happy we seem to be getting it now. And honestly, I think it's better that she's not the champion because this is a prominent storyline for the women that isn't just because it's involving the title.
Yeah, sure. I do think it could use the title. Like it's that marquee of a match for the women that it could have the championship on it, Io versus Asuka. Doesn't necessarily need it. I'm surprised they're not holding out on the match until maybe a bigger event, maybe around the Rumble or Mania or something like that. But a lot of these PLEs in between as of late have been pretty booked. They've been booked strong, so you can put it on anything and it should be a great matchup. I love the idea of Io turning heel. I think Io or Rhea, one of them, if I really had to choose, I would say Rhea, but one of them's got to turn heel pretty soon to spice things up a little bit. Naomi, not active tonight. Interesting, kind of out of left field. I seen a little clip of her on her suitcase taking a little bit of a tumble. I don't know if that's where it comes from, but in a world where Naomi can't go at Clash, you have Stephanie in the World Championship match. Io probably fits the bill to take that slot. Rhea again is there. Asuka. There can be any mix of women in that match, but I don't want to think too forward yet. They didn't make any crazy decision outside of Naomi not wrestling tonight. I would like to say Naomi has that championship for a while too. So Asuka versus Io. I don't know how long Asuka has left. You kind of got to make that match happen while you can. I don't think you have the time to wait to get the championship involved in it.
Yeah, I'm looking at their Twitter right now and I don't see anything new posted. Michael Cole
Hmm.
said at the top of the show to keep up with their
Yeah.
social media and they'll post something. I'm sure we'll get something in the coming days. That does, leave a gap if they do take that title match off. Maybe we get Tiffy Jade rematch for the title taking its spot. I don't know. Would be a bit of a shame, especially because you do the whole story of the Battle Royal at Evolution and Stephanie hasn't really been doing much. She's
Hmm.
just been kind of treading water since that win. Like it was pretty clear. It was like, all right, you won this match. Now we can't have you be the most prominent thing, so we have to get through, SummerSlam and all these main stories, and then we'll get to you. And it's like, all right, they're about to get to it. Boom, injury. Seems so. Who knows? You never know if the injury is real nowadays or not. But with the way this is going, it kind of seems like it is. I would like, uh, I would like Io to stay face, um, for at least a little bit. My fear of all of this just tracks back to what we were just talking about, that this is just a numbers game to set up for the women's War Games match. And it'll be like Raquel, Roxanne, Asuka, Kyrie Sane, and I don't know,
Becky.
Naomi
Naomi. Yeah.
against Io, Rhea, Stephanie, and then two others, like
Hmm.
it just, I would not need that at all. And like knowing them, that's the route.
That's exactly what they're doing. Yeah, especially with the women, if we're being honest. All the War Games matches, the women have been more thrown together style matches. The men have at least had bloodline versus this, bloodline versus that. There's been kind of like factions involved, Judgment Day, The women have really just been all their War Games matches, at least concoctions of teams of just all the single stars getting together. And it looks like we're kind of getting that again. At least Roxanne and Raquel are together. It would be great if Liv was involved and you at least had the three women together. But it seems like, again, these big four, big five PLEs, Mania, SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, Survivor Series, the Rumble, everything in between is the bridge to get there. It's all build for things to culminate at those events. Not everything culminates at those events. Those events can still be kind of the middle of storylines, but it's all just to add to War Games. And I don't think titles are going to change hands. I don't know. It's just a little corny to me. I can see that being where maybe some sort of heel turn takes place from hell, even Asuka. Asuka could be the one to go heel. Maybe again, like you said, she could be on the heel side of the matchup. But it doesn't do it for me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, one thing that did do it for me though, I texted you during Raw. I was like, "This is good."
Hmm.
The Bailey video that we had, and even the Lyra interview right after. Look, Bailey and Lyra, this has been a story for months now. This is
Yeah.
going pre-Mania at this point. And this might be like the ultimate refresher to it. Once Lyra lost the match against Becky and lost it in a fashion that we kind of expected. We expected Bailey to get involved. Now, we expected Bailey to possibly turn heel there and cost Lyra. Instead, it was an inadvertent cost, whatever. We get this video package for Bailey. And the first like 30 seconds of it, I'm like, this sounds like she's leaving the way they've painted this package. It seems like it's a bit of a repackage, a rebranding for Bailey. They have Lyra kind of, you know, respond to it in like a concern. Did I cause this? No, I can't worry about that. I have to worry about myself type thing. I think we're going to get a new version of Bailey. Hopefully they remove that fucking role model gimmick.
You beat me to it.
Yeah. And I think we're going to get a kind of like a you caused this type story. And I'm happy with either person winning.
Hmm.
Bailey might beat the brakes off Lyra when she comes back.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of hope that's the case. I'm so over the role model thing and like the theme, the look, like it needs a change. It absolutely is time. It's been time for a while. It might not be the worst opening to a current theme, but it's up there. It's getting old. Bailey needs a repackage. There was points where leading into SummerSlam, we were kind of saying, is Bailey like on her way out? Like, is that why she's not getting the win here, not getting any involvement in these shows, things like that? But I'm hopeful that it's a strong repackage for Bailey. Lyra, you might say Lyra is new. She needs the wins, blah, blah. She's also new and has a lot of time left. Bailey's still got some years in the tank, don't get me wrong, but Lyra can take an L. I know. Repackage Bailey, make Bailey look strong. Hell, Bailey's probably, out of the women left, now that Naomi has won a championship, probably one of the women that's most deserving of like a legitimate title run again. I know she won the title at Mania 40, but that's a little bit of ways away now. Not a stellar run after the fact. If they repackage her and do it well, she's a top contender again. Where do they go with Bailey though during all this? Is it a full-fledged heel turn for Bailey too? I really don't know. I do think she's gonna, as you said though, beat the brakes off of Lyra.
Yeah, I think it kind of times out well. We'll get this kind of refresher of Bailey. She'll have this feud with Lyra, and then you would assume by the time it's actually finished, you're at that kind of draft point, and they're going to go to separate brands, and you know they're not just sat on the same brand after having a literal year-long story. But
Yeah,
that was pretty much Raw. I don't think I missed anything
nothing to
too.
talk about really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, it was a lot of like there were a good amount to talk about, but it was more just so the enhancement of stories that have kind of
Hmm.
already started or the seeds being planted. But I do know if you haven't clicked the subscribe button by now, clown,
Howard.
biggest coward imaginable, like laughable.
It's just a button. Like if you can't just click that one button, it's because you're afraid of it.
Like you were able to click on this video, you have the power to click subscribe.
And say better.